Cassie here, welcome back to my channel, and today is the long-awaited video about the 16 personalities. I don't know if it's long-awaited for you guys, but it is for me because I've been talking about it for a few weeks now. So originally when I was gonna do this video, I thought I was talking about the Myers-Briggs personality test, but when I was reading through the information on this website, I believe it's just called 16personalities.com, but I will link it down below in the description. I discovered that this is actually not the same as Myers-Briggs. I think it basically is the same, but they just aren't allowed to call it the same thing because it's, you know, not exactly the same. I don't really know, but this website in particular is the one that I've used to do character development. What am I trying to say? Character profiles. So this is the one that I want to share with you guys, even though Myers-Briggs is like the popular one. Anyway, just wanted to say that in case I accidentally slip up and say something about Myers-Briggs. This is not technically that, but it basically is. But anyway, as I was scripting out this video, I realized that it's just gonna be way too hard to kind of explain all of these things to you, and it would be easier to just show you what the website offers and how you can use all of these things in your writing. So let's do it. Alright, so first things first, we're going to open up our web browser and type in 16personalities.com, enter. Now, I want to give you guys kind of a brief overview of the whole site, but I'm only going to go into great detail on the parts that I find particularly useful in relation to writing, just for the sake of time. Obviously, you can see right here and right here, you can click to take the test and discover what your personality type is. Now, I did not take the test myself for my characters. I did take the test for myself and discovered that I am an INFJ, but I didn't take the test for my characters. I just read through the personality types, which I'll show you in a minute. But first things first, I want to show you some of the other things the site has to offer that I'm not going to go into detail on. So if you do click on personality types up here, you can go to theory and research. And this will talk about, you know, the theory and research, how they came up with all these personality types, all of the psychological research that goes into that. You can click learn more here and here to learn more about that if you are curious, but we're not going to talk about that today. There's also this button that says articles, which is, you know, similar stuff, just people talking about the 16 personalities and, you know, related information, but we're not going to talk about that either. We're going to settle in on this page, personality types. Alright, so we're here on the personality types page, and if you scroll down, you can see that all the personality types are split up into 4 groups. So there's the analysts. These are the 4 personality types within that group. Then there are the diplomats, and these are the 4 in that group. The sentinels, I think I'm saying that right, and these are the 4 in that group, and the explorers, and these are the 4 in that group. So there are meanings to these letters here, ESTP, ESFP, you know, obviously that's the whole point of the test, is that there are meanings to these letters, but honestly, you don't really need to know what those meanings are in order to make use of this site. So I'm going to go ahead and glaze over that, and if you'd like to learn more about that, I'm sure it is explained thoroughly in this theory and research section, but we're just going to kind of glaze over it just for the sake of time because I don't want this video to be too crazy long. So for our purposes, I'm just going to show you how I went through and used this site to create character profiles for my characters. So basically, I had a character in mind and I read through each of these personality types. So I just read the little brief overview of the type, like the architect, INTJ, is imaginative and strategic thinkers with a plan for everything. Logisticians, or INTPs, are innovative inventors with an unquenchable thirst for knowledge. And so on and so forth. I just had one character in mind and I went through the list of all these different personality types, reading these just brief sentences about them. And then on a notepad, I jotted down which ones I felt at least somewhat described my character that I had in mind. Now, once I narrowed down these 16 different personality types into a much shorter list of just the few that I thought might fit with my character, I then would click on each of those on my short list, and we're going to go ahead and talk about the logistician in this video because there are some things I want to discuss that this personality type helps me highlight. So if this sentence, practical and fact-minded individuals whose reliability cannot be doubted, if that is something that seems like it might fit your character, but you're not quite sure, you can click on it and it will take you to the Logisticians personality page. And this is where all the exciting stuff is. So this first page is a brief overview introduction of this type of character. And I guess when I say brief, it's really not all that brief. It's pretty in-depth. It's a pretty long introduction to the character, and that felt like a little bit too much work to me to read through all of these different personality types, because once I narrowed down the 16 personalities down to like 4 or 5 that I thought might fit my character, it still seemed like a lot of work to read through this entire introduction for all 4 or 5 of those. So instead of browsing the introduction, what I actually did was I jumped right into their strengths and weaknesses page. Now, strengths and weaknesses are something that we use a lot in our writing, and can definitely help you to see if this particular personality type fits with your characters. So I skipped over the introduction, jumped right into the strengths and weaknesses, and I just read through the bullet points really quickly on each of the 4 or 5 personality types that I thought might fit my character. So this one says honest and direct, strong-willed and dutiful, very responsible, calm and practical, create and enforce order, jacks of all trades. And then logisticians' weaknesses are stubborn, insensitive, always by the book, judgmental, often unreasonably blame themselves. So after I went through all of the possible personality types that I thought might fit my character Ari, I decided that this logistician personality is him to a T. And I determined that because some of the strengths and weaknesses I saw here were things that I already had in mind in relation to this character, because I have already written some scenes and I have done some character development with this character. But the awesome thing is that now I have even more to work with. I already knew that Ari had some of these strengths and weaknesses, but now I have even more to work with, and obviously, as you can see, these bullet points come with more in-depth descriptions. It also, funnily enough, sounds like my husband, because my husband is 100% a logistician. So anyway, obviously, as I'm sure all of you know, if you're a writer, you know that we use strengths and weaknesses a lot in our writing. And when it comes to writing characters' weaknesses, it can be kind of difficult sometimes to come up with weaknesses that aren't, I guess, too over the top, or that don't make a character too unlikable. We want our characters to still be likable within their weaknesses. And we also want their weaknesses to be congruent with the rest of their character. We want them to be believable. So that's the really cool thing about a site like this, is they tell you if your character seems like they match up with this logistician personality, if the introduction totally sounds like them, if all of these strengths, or at least most of these strengths, seem to match up well with your character and the character that you have in mind that you're creating, then these weaknesses are probably weaknesses that a personality type like that would exhibit. So if you're writing a character who is very honest and direct and strong-willed and responsible and practical, then it might logically follow that they would be a little stubborn and insensitive and maybe a bit judgmental. If you give that character these weaknesses, that is likely to come across to readers as being believable weaknesses for a character like that to have. And that is because, as we discussed earlier in the theories and research section, there is a psychology to these things. So it is, it's not an exact science, of course, a lot of things in psychology aren't, but we've all seen people who have these strengths, and it's very common for people who have these strengths to also have these weaknesses. So it's just really nice if you know what your character looks like and what their strengths are, then but you're a little iffy on what their weaknesses are. A website like this just kind of lays it all out for you. Like, well, if these are your character's strengths, and these are probably going to be their weaknesses, or vice versa. Maybe you know what your character's weaknesses are, but you're not really sure what they're strong in. You can use that in the opposite way as well. So moving on, the next section we have is romantic relationships, which for me, as someone who primarily writes romance, this section is so extremely helpful. This one isn't really a bullet pointed list. It is more of like an article that you have to read through. But being that I am a romance author and this is my love interest character, I found all of this information to be extremely useful. Just to give you a brief overview so you have an idea, this says logisticians are dependable through and through, and this trait is clearly expressed when it comes to their romantic relationships. Often representing the epitome of family values, people with a logistician personality type are comfortable with and often even encourage traditional household and gender roles, and look to a family structure guided by clear expectations and honesty. While their reserved nature often makes dating logisticians challenging, they are truly dedicated partners, willing to devote tremendous thought and energy to ensure stable and mutually satisfying relationships. That is a whole lot of really important information to know about how your character, navigates a romantic relationship. This goes on to say that blind dates and random hookups are not logisticians' preferred methods of finding potential partners. They prefer to plan things out and know more about their potential romance before beginning a relationship. This also has some practical information about how logisticians relate when they're in a long-term relationship. It says, as their relationship transitions into the long term, logisticians gladly see to the necessary daily tasks around the house, applying the same sense of duty to their home life that they do in the workplace. So that can be a great little just kind of practical thing you can add to your character. This sentence says, while logisticians' staid approach may seem boring to some, there is an undeniable attractiveness to it, though felt perhaps more by respect and admiration than emotional passion. That was a sentence that really resonated with me with my story between my love interests, Ari and Charlotte, because their relationship is not very emotionally passionate, and it is much more founded on respect and admiration, so when I read this, I thought, wow, like, that's good. I guess I'm writing this in a believable manner, because this is how characters like this, like Ari, who's a logistician, would act in a relationship. So that was nice to know that I'm kind of on the right track there. I thought this part was interesting too. It says that partners who share the observant trait are the best fit for logistician personalities, with one or two opposing traits to create balance and to expand logisticians' sometimes overly isolated world, such as partners with extroverted or prospecting traits. And I really loved this because while Ari's love interest does not have these SEMP traits, his best friend Bryce has all of those traits. And so that again, kind of showed me that I'm on the right track. Speaking of friendships, that's the next little tab on our list here. And this just gives you some awesome information about what logisticians are like in a friendship relationship. So again, really good information to know about a character is how they relate to their friends. And this whole paragraph was really exciting for me to read because Ari's love interest, Charlotte, is definitely an intuitive. She has the N trait in her personality type. And this says that logisticians almost always have at least one intuitive friend in their inner circle, despite the disconnect the two perspectives bring. These are very much relationships built not on mutual understanding, but out of respect for their mutual differences, which, by the way, can be a really fun way to write a romance. It's not necessarily like a hate to love romance, but it's kind of a two characters who are very different at their core, but still have a lot of mutual respect for their differences. Logisticians marvel at intuitives' breadth of thought, being very much in tune with their own intelligence, while intuitives admire logisticians' realism and dependability, something they are often hard-pressed to find in themselves. Now, this whole sentence was just a huge breakthrough when I read it for myself, because this is absolutely a key aspect of Ari and Charlotte's relationship that I knew in my heart, like my instincts understood this, but I couldn't really put into words what is it that these two characters really love about each other, and why do they love each other's differences so much. And this sentence is exactly what it is, because she's an intuitive and has this breadth of thought that he appreciates because he's very much in tune with his own intelligence. And on the opposite end, she admires his realism and dependability because it's something that she doesn't find often in herself. And that is just, it totally sums up their relationship perfectly. And just having this sentence written out like this helped it to click in my mind and helped me to really understand something that I already sort of felt about my characters, but I didn't have words to express it. And this will help a lot in, I think, in helping me to express this to my readers. Because if you don't know yourself in clear words why two characters really love each other and admire each other, then it can be hard to express that to readers on the page. Some other tabs we have here are parenthood, so that of course would talk about how this character type relates in a parent-child relationship, which I'm not really exploring in my story, so I didn't really read that part a whole lot. There's also this tab of career paths, which I did find this very useful. While I already know what Ari um, is going to do with his life, I already had a solid career path for him. I did not at all have a solid career path for my female character, Charlotte, and so this section of her personality type, which is INFJ, really helped me a lot to figure out what she might be pursuing, because she is in high school, going into college, and trying to figure out what she wants to do with her life, and I didn't really know what I wanted her to do with her life. So for her character, this tab was very helpful, just talking about what types of careers these personality types tend to go for and why. There's also a tab about workplace habits, which, is useful if you're actually writing your character in the workplace. And then there's the conclusion tab, which is self-explanatory. So basically, that is what this site has to offer. There are 16 different personality types. As I said, I just went through, narrowed them all down on this list to a few, maybe 4 or 5, and then I read through those 4 or 5's strengths and weaknesses, and generally just the strengths and weaknesses part was enough for me to know, okay, this is my character. They are this personality type. And then that's when I went into a deeper dive and read through the relationship section, the friendships, the parenthood, the workplace habits, the career paths, all of those more in-depth ideas. If you're curious, I am this guy, an advocate, an INFJ, which they are quiet and mystical, yet very inspiring and tireless idealist. If that doesn't sound like an author, I don't know what does. So that is all I'm going to talk to you about here. You can see for yourself by going to 16personalities.com. If I haven't already mentioned, I am not at all sponsored by these people or anything. I just like this site, and I'm just kind of trying to give you a tool that you might want to use it. I have no affiliation with this website at all. Most all of this information is free. There is another area where you can become a member, and I think you can pay for stuff, but I don't know. I haven't done it. I actually don't know if this signing up for all these extra things costs money or not, but I haven't bothered to do it. So, but that's something you can check out if you want. Another thing I forgot to mention, we'll click on the advocate for now, which is me, is at the bottom of the introduction page, this first page that comes up, there is also advocates you may know. So these are famous people who also have this personality trait, or at least are presumed to have this personality trait. I mean, I'm sure these people didn't necessarily take this test, but they just based on observations, and I don't know what kind of analysis they do to figure out whether or not these people are advocates, but supposedly they are. So, and the one I'm most excited about is Desmond Hume from Lost. Anyone remember Desmond? He's the best. So apparently we're advocate buddies, and I am totally down for that. So anyway, that is it. If you want a useful tool to beef up your character profiles and help you get a better sense of who your characters are and how they might relate in your story, and also get some ideas for plot and conflicts to add and weaknesses to give to your characters that might create some interesting plot developments, head on over to 16personalities.com. It is quite a useful site. Oh my gosh, you guys, I am so mad at myself. I tested out my microphone before I filmed this video, and then in order to play it back to listen to it and make sure it sounded good, I unplugged my microphone, and then I didn't plug it back in. So the whole time I didn't have my microphone plugged in, and I was just recording with my computer microphone, which, as you can probably tell now that I do have my microphone plugged in, is not nearly as good. But I am not going to record all of that over again, so I am so sorry. You just have to deal with that crappy audio for a while. I apologize. I really did try to make sure it was good, and I even tried out a few different microphones to pick the right one, and okay, anyway, moving on. I thought since we're here on the computer, I would really quickly show you my website, which is at cassiebeebe.wixsite.com/Castiel. Enter. And here we are. This is my author website. If you'd like to check it out and just get an idea of what an author website might look like, this is what mine looks like. Ooh, ah. So I'm showing you this for a couple reasons. Number one, if you'd like to sign up for my newsletter, it is right here. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because pretty dang soon I'm going to be having a lot of new information coming out about my next book. All that I'll say right now is that my second book, Broken Together, is scheduled to be released before the end of the year. So in the next couple months, I'm going to have a lot of updates, and all of my patrons, as well as everyone who's signed up for my monthly newsletter, you are all the very first people to find out about any new updates. So if I have a cover to reveal, if I have announcements about the release date or the pre-order date, or anything like that, everyone who signed up for my newsletter is going to find out first. Another reason I wanted to bring you to my website is because I'm going to be starting a blog soon. If you look up here, it says blog. It didn't used to say that, but it does now. And right now, if you click on that, it'll just take you to this page that says posts are coming soon, because I haven't posted anything yet. But starting in the month of July, I'm going to be posting weekly blogs every Saturday. So I have a lot of things planned for that, and some of them are super fun. So make sure to, maybe log in, sign up, subscribe, or just bookmark the page so that you can come back to it later and check out my weekly blogs. Another thing about my website you may not know if you haven't been here, if you go to the books tab, you will be taken to this page, which shows all of my books. Right now, Keep No Record is the only book I have out, so I have the blurb here. I have a purchase button here. Broken Together for now just says, I kind of gives a little overview of what the story is going to be about, but this isn't my official blurb yet because I haven't written an official blurb. And of course the cover is not released yet, so it just says coming soon. But right here under the purchase button is a button that says read the first chapter. And if you click on that, it will take you to this page where you can read chapter 1 of Keep No Record for free, which is really fancy and exciting. So if you'd like to check out the first chapter of my book, if you haven't read it already, you can do that here. And then pretty soon, as I mentioned, there's going to be some exciting new things that newsletter subscribers will be the first to know about. And one of those new things is that as soon as my book is ready, I will be releasing the first chapter on this site. So right now it just says Broken Together, chapter 1 coming soon, but in just a few short months, I will be posting the first chapter of Broken Together here. And as I said, Patreon members and newsletter subscribers will be the first people to know about that. So anyway, I just thought that would be nice to show you guys since I don't usually film stuff on my computer like this. I figured it would be a good time to check it out. So I also have a little about the author section if you want to learn a little bit more about me as a person. So anyway, that's going to be it for this week's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it and got through the terrible audio. I'm so frustrated that I didn't plug in my microphone. I tried so hard and I was so prepared, but then I just totally forked it up. But I hope the information provided was useful for you in some way. And that is going to be a wrap on this video series about, using personality types and love languages and all of those great things to benefit our writing. Starting next week, Camp NaNoWriMo is beginning, so that's what the month of July is going to hold, and then we'll see what happens from there on out. Until next time, have a great day, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you later. The different setting of recording on my computer is making me forget what I usually say to sign off these videos. But anyway, I'll see you next time. Have a great day. Bye!